my wall showing? This is the time I've been in foster care twice and I've gotten adopted. So my parents had me at a really young age, and it was really hard for them, I guess, to take care of a kid. So the police got called on my mother because she was not doing child-friendly things in the street. So I wound up going to a foster home. Did I know this lady? No. Did I like this lady? No. It was horrible. I stayed in a tub 24/7. And when you think I'm exaggerating, I stayed in a tub. I ate in this tub. I drank my chocolate milk in this tub. I stayed in the tub and I was like naked and pruning. I hated it. And how do I remember this? I necessarily really don't know. I think it's because it affected me so drastically in my life that it like stuck in my head. So one day I heard sirens outside. It was the police, the fire department, and my grandmother outside. And they took me away from this house. And when I went to my grandmother's house, it was me and my little sister because my parents had my sister Alyssa a year later. But Alyssa wasn't with me in this foster home. I don't know where she was at. So I wind up having a really bad fear of tubs. And I did get over that fear, don't worry. I did get over that fear after a couple months, so that was good. But I lived with my grandmother for a couple years, and by the time I was 8 years old, my dad left my mom, and he had a new woman into his life, which would be my stepmother. And they had 2 more children, Aaliyah and Arthur, and they lived with us in Slidell because we had to move because of Hurricane Katrina. And when I was 8, my dad was like, hey, let's go have a sleepover. So my mom was like, okay, you know, go spend time with your father, that she doesn't have any custody over us, so, you know, gotta go with my dad. And we took a lot of our stuff, and that was suspicious. And I was like, okay, whatever. And we wind up staying in Chalmette. We never went back. It was not a sleepover whatsoever. So when I did stay in Slidell, they had another kid named Angela, and which is my sister, and she was supposed to be a vegetable, and she actually wound up able to talk, able to walk. Now it took her years to learn this, but she did wind up learning this, and because of this, we are going to Disneyland in November. I'm really excited because it's my first time going to Disneyland ever. Well, Disney World. We're going to Disney World, not land. Okay. We're going to Disney World, and so it's because of Make-A-Wish Foundation decided to let us go and pay for the entire trip. I've never been on a plane before, but I will vlog about that, so that's a future video to look up on. But while living in this house for a good 3 years, I was a parent to my brother and my sisters. I would walk them to school, get them dressed for school. I would sometimes fix them lunch. Like, I was really good at fixing frozen pizzas. Sometimes we would not even have lunch or dinner, and we really depended on school lunch. Like, I would beg people for more lunch so that I would be able to bring it home. And we dumpster dived for our clothes and everything. So that was a really, really hard time in my life. Now, by the time I think I was 10 or 11, one night there was this huge thing that happened, and my parents left the house and the police were called. I don't know where they went, but they left the house. Hiding in the closet, and I was really scared of the police because I was taught when the police come to our house, we hide in the closet or hide under the bed. We not answer the door, we close the windows, we turn off the lights. That's what happens. So that's exactly what we did, but the police were outside with flashlights in our window, and they were looking around, and so we had curtains and stuff so they were not able to see. But my brother wound up running through the door and opened it to the police, which I thank him for that. Good job. So my sister Alyssa and my sister Aaliyah walked out the room, and they went to talk to the police. I was still in the closet with my sister Angela holding her because I was really scared, because I got this mentality in my head, like, if the police get called and take us away and we tell them what happened, we go to foster care and I'll never be able to see my grandmother or my aunt again. And I was really scared of foster care, so I did not want to go back. Like, didn't want to go back whatsoever. And so I stayed in the closet, and the police wind up really talking nice to me. They're like, hey, it's gonna be okay, I'm here for you, you're not in trouble, nothing's gonna happen to you, you're safe now. So when I heard the words, you're safe now, I immediately walked out of the closet. Even though I was a little skeptical, I decided to get up and go talk to them. So I was really scared, and so were the rest of my brothers and sisters, and I really give my brother props for being able to gather the courage to open that door. And I took my sister's flip phone because, you know, flip phones were the thing back then. And the only reason I had a flip phone is because my dad let me have it, and the only person I would call was my grandmother, and I would call her at 3 o'clock at night so my parents couldn't hear my conversations with her, because I'd get really scared of the dark and everything. So I would just call her and try to get comfort. So they took my sister's phone and they went through the contacts, and they called a family friend, and her name was Gigi, and then they called my grandmother. And so while we waited for them to get there, the police were rummaging around the house, and they were looking at everything that was going on. There was a hole in the roof, and that's where the rats came from. And there was glass on the floor all in the living room, so we had to be careful where we stepped because we were barefooted. There was broken glass in the kitchen. There was holes in the walls throughout the house because of people punching into them. And our bedrooms were disgusting, and they looked inside the fridge and everything, and they did not appreciate this household. So I wind up getting into my grandmother's car because she wound up showing up, and my grandmother saw the house too, and everyone was just disgusted by it. And so she took us into her arms and she drove us home and to Slidell, and this was around, I think, 3 o'clock in the morning. So we went to go get McDonald's because it was open, and I grabbed my burritos when I was younger. And we did have to tell the police what happened inside the house. We weren't gonna lose custody of us, but they did not show up to the court date. And then my birth mother signed off because she was like, my birth mother wasn't in the picture in Chalmette, but when they did call her because they got in contact with her, she signed off in the papers to give custody to my grandmother because of the fact she wanted us to live a better life. And my mother had no idea what was going on because, you know, she wasn't with me like most of the time. So while we're going through the adoption process, which took about 2 years, because it takes a really long time, I guess, to adopt a kid. I don't know because I've never been through that, but that would be like my second foster home was my grandmother's, but I still consider that, whatever. And it was, we had social workers and everything. They came, they checked the house, they see what was going on to make sure everything was good in the house, and it does all counseling. And I wound up getting diagnosed with ADD, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that's what it is, ADD, and depression. So that was really hard. So I'm really glad I did wind up getting help for that. So when the adoption day occurred, it was really, really cool. You go into a courtroom like you would any other court date or whatever, and there's not a lot of people. You don't have a jury or anything. Your social workers are sitting in the back, and you're sitting in the chairs with them, and then the adoption parent is on stand, and the judge tells, you know, you are officially the parent of so-and-so and so-and-so. So at the end of that, everyone claps. My grandmother was crying her eyes out because she was so happy. The whole thing finally happened. I was happy the whole thing finally happened, and I started crying. So did my sister. So we're like bawling in tears. And I think that was around the time I was like 13 or 14. Don't remember, if I'm being honest. But my grandma remembers the date of exactly when we got adopted. So she celebrates it every year. We go out to eat. We have this big family day. It's really, really nice. I love it. That is the time I was adopted, and I have been in foster care twice. So I hope you guys liked the video, and I hope it wasn't too long. Bye.